Welcome to Honest Money, your best guide to financial freedom. I'm Warren Ingram, the author of a few best-selling books, and I'm also an award-winning financial planner, and I've helped thousands of people on their journey to financial freedom. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I am here to share my experience and the best ideas that I've learned, and I hope these ideas help you on your journey to financial freedom. Honest Money is proudly sponsored by OutSurance. Saving on your car insurance can start by SMSing CAR to 30165. If OutSurance can't beat your current premium, you can ask them to give you 500 Rand. And if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years or more, ask them for 1,500 Rand. Whether it's a saving or cash in your pocket, you always get something out. And that's the honest truth. OutSurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply. 50 cents per SMS.
Hi Warren, I trust you're well. My name is Chris, I'm 20 years old and I'm currently a student. After reading your books and listening to your various podcasts, I've learned that the first step in my financial journey would be to start my emergency fund with 3 to 6 months of expenses. But my interest really lies in investments. With the limited funds from an internship or articles or someone just starting to invest, would you recommend someone concentrating their money into 2 ETFs, like the Satrix Top 40 and the MSCI World, which are already diverse? Or is there a greater benefit in investing smaller amounts into more ETFs, like as you suggested in a previous podcast, the Top 40, the MSCI World, Emerging Markets, and a Dividend Aristocrat? Lastly, do you have any book recommendations during this time to read for the future? Thank you so much.
Wow, Chris, thanks for that question. That's probably a whole show all on its own. So I'm going to try and be brief, but answer your questions as they come through. So firstly, well done. As a student, if you've managed to accumulate your emergency fund and you've got an internship which is allowing you to start saving, you're already on a brilliant path. So well done there. And I think my comment on investing is that you should diversify. So I think buying 2 or 3 ETFs makes sense to me. I wouldn't buy too many at the same time, because eventually you can do something called over diversification. So I think when you were talking about looking at, for example, the top 40 ETF and the MSCI World, on its own, those 2 investments could be a great portfolio for any investor, and that could be something that you do over a decade. You could just take every bit of money that you save, put it in those 2, and you'd have a brilliant portfolio. I think if you want a little bit more risk and potentially a little bit more return, and I think those are 2 things that you have to consider. It's fine to look for a more return, but more return always comes with more risk. So I have to say that. But if you want a bit more risk and a bit more return, you could say, well, let me take a third of my money and I buy the top 40 index in South Africa, take a third of my money, buy the MSCI World, and then take a third of my money and buy the MSCI Emerging Markets Index. That really would be a very high growth portfolio, but I have to tell you that will come with a lot of risk. And that means that there will be times, and I think, in February 2020 is a great example where you would have probably lost about half of your money in a few days, and then you'd hate the recommendation that I've just given you. So be careful. Understand that taking a lot of risk does come with the potential for reward, but be prepared then to lose half your money. If that's too risky for you, then I think looking at half your money in the MSCI World and half in the top 40 index in South Africa makes a lot of sense. I think that's a very nice portfolio, definitely worth investing in for a long period of time. And maybe what you do is you start with those 2, and once you've built those up, then you could say, well, let me take a bit of money and start putting it into that emerging markets index. The reason I like the emerging markets index is it does come with risk, but I think global emerging markets like China and India and Indonesia, Vietnam, and the like, they have great demographic profiles where their population are young but very productive, work hard, and I think that they're going to be the future growth economies of the world. So if you've got 5 or 10 years to invest in and you're prepared to leave your money, I think those will be very rewarding. But I think over the next 1 or 2 years, they might come with a lot of risk. Your second question, I gather, is around a book recommendation, and I think I love reading, so I've always got book recommendations, and I think the best book for me around investing is always to understand the kind of original master of investments, as far as I'm concerned, and that's Warren Buffett, and I'm not just saying that because he's got a great first name. I think that his track record and his history proves that he's one of the all-time great investors. And there's a brilliant book about Warren Buffett called Snowball, and I think it's by Alice Schroeder, and I think that's probably the best recommendation I could give anybody to start investing, is you get a really good idea of what he's about and how he thinks about investing, but it's not a textbook, so it's not dry and boring. It's well written and worth reading. And I think another great book is one called Poor Charlie's Almanac, which is by Charlie Munger. He's Warren Buffett's main investment partner. He's his big partner on his investment company, and that's a bit more of an interesting book. It's a very expensive book, but it's a collection of all of Charlie Munger's big speeches and writings that he's put together over decades. And I think that he really tells you about how to think differently, how to look at problems with a multidisciplinary approach. And to me, Charlie Munger is one of the all-time great minds of the last 100 years, and so really worthwhile following. But that is a bit more of a difficult read. It's not just a simple, easy read like Snowball. So those would be my two recommendations if you're looking for some lockdown reading.
Good morning, Warren and team. It's Matapelo Mvundlela here. I have few investment questions. Okay, let me start. I'm currently contributing 3,000 Rand on Signia iTrix. The 1,000 Rand is for the Euro, 1,000 Rand MCI World, and another 1,000 Rand for Japan. So I would like to know if I should continue with it or rather pause it and contribute to the local Cetrix ETF or contribute to an RA, because I don't have an RA, but I do have a pension fund with my employer, but I feel like it's not enough. Okay, I also have a 19-month-old daughter, which I contributed a tax-free savings account, a maximum of 33,000 on her first birthday, and I'm planning to do so on each and every birthday. So I wanted to know is it advisable to continue contributing for my daughter, because a lot of people are saying it's gonna be at her disadvantage when she grows up, when she wants to make her contributions. So I don't know, please help.
Matabelo, thank you so much. Those are awesome questions. I think I'm going to answer your tax-free question first, because it's one that I hear quite a lot, and I know that people are telling you it's a bad idea to invest for your young daughter in her tax-free savings, but that I just don't get the logic of why people say that to you. And I think a lot of advisors say that, and to me it just doesn't make sense. I think the longer you can invest for your daughter, the better. The more time that money can grow on itself, and the more that the money can make money babies, which is called compounding, the better. So I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea. I just think be careful that you don't put the money into a money market account or into a fixed deposit. It must be, I know it's called a tax-free savings account, and everyone thinks that means that it's only for cash deposits or fixed deposits. That's not true. So if your tax-free savings for your daughter is in something like a top 40 ETF or a world ETF, that's a great idea. And I would definitely carry on doing that every single year for as long as you can. I think it's just one of the best gifts you can give your daughter. And by the time she's 20 or 25, there will be so much money in there that it's money she could put down to almost buy a house or put down a huge deposit on a house. So I think it's a great gift to give your children, and I think everybody should do it. The second question on all the different kinds of ETFs that you've got, I think you're in danger of being over-invested. So just be careful. I think rather have, for example, the top 40 ETF in South Africa, and then the world ETF as an example. But try not to have too many different kinds of global ETFs and too many different kinds of South African ETFs. An equal split between two makes all the sense in the world to me. I don't think you need to do more. You can always add a third if you wanted a bit more risk to buy the emerging markets ETF, but that's not necessary. To have the South African ETF with, let's say, half of your money every month and the other half going into the world ETF, that will be a great portfolio that you can keep building over long periods of time. You don't need to do more. Thank you for listening to Honest Money. If you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is @WarrenIngram. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Chat soon. Honest Money was proudly brought to you by OutSurance. Don't miss your chance for a car insurance saving or a pocket full of cash. Remember, you could ask OutSurance for 500 Rand if they can't beat your current premium, or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. SMS CAR to 30165 now to start your quote. OutSurance, you always get something out. OutSurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's apply. 50 cents per SMS.